All right, let's dive into this one.
Okay.
This deep dive is all about financial literacy, and we're going to be looking at Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Great book.
Yeah, you mentioned you wanted to kind of level up your financial game, and this book is known for its bold advice.
Right.
That really challenges how we traditionally think about money.
Yeah. It's pretty controversial in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And throws out some pretty, um,
Strong opinions.
strong opinions. Yeah, that definitely, challenge the status quo.
Yeah, it all boils down to this idea that how we think about money, our money mindset, can either set us up for success or keep us stuck.
And what I find so fascinating is how Kiyosaki uses the life lessons from his own father, the poor dad, and then his friend's father, the rich dad, to really illustrate how those mindsets play out in the real world.
And he's not shy about using really vivid stories to make his point.
No.
Like, for example, his biological father
Right.
was highly educated, had a steady job, but constantly struggled financially.
He was very much in the rat race,
Yeah. And then on the other hand,
Yeah.
his friend's father, the rich dad,
Right.
didn't even finish school,
Right.
but built a successful business empire.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It really makes you question.
It throws a wrench into the whole idea that the traditional path
Exactly.
is the only way to achieve.
Yeah, the conventional wisdom that a good education automatically equals financial success.
Yeah.
He really flips that on its head.
So, okay, let's unpack this concept of financial intelligence.
Yeah.
It seems to be a key takeaway from the book.
Totally.
But what does it actually look like in practice?
Yeah, so financial intelligence, as Kiyosaki, or I guess Rich Dad as he puts it, is really about understanding how money works,
Okay.
recognizing the difference between assets and liabilities,
Right.
and knowing how to make smart financial decisions.
Okay.
So it's kind of like having a financial GPS that helps you navigate the world of money.
I love that analogy, the financial GPS. So instead of just relying on a map that somebody else drew for us,
Mm-hmm.
we need to learn how to read the terrain ourselves
You got it.
and develop the skills and knowledge to make those informed choices.
That's the key right there.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the core tenets of financial intelligence seems to be
Yeah.
understanding the difference between assets and liabilities.
This is huge. Rich Dad constantly emphasizes this throughout the book.
That seems to be like the heart of this book.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on how Rich Dad defines assets and liabilities?
Sure. So it seems like he has a very different perspective than what's traditionally taught.
Yeah.
And his definition is so straightforward and simple, it's brilliant.
Okay.
He says assets put money in your pocket.
Okay.
Liabilities take money out.
Oh, I see.
And to illustrate this concept, he uses these really cool
Yeah.
cash flow diagrams,
Okay.
which are kind of like financial x-rays, that they visually show you how money is flowing in and out of the lives of, poor people, middle-class people, and wealthy people.
I feel like those diagrams are such a light bulb moment for a lot of people.
Totally.
They suddenly see how someone who's caught in that rat race,
Right.
that cycle of working for money, keeps their money flowing outwards to those liabilities.
Exactly.
Like car payments and credit card bills.
All those expenses, all that debt.
But then you look at a wealthy person,
Yeah.
their money is constantly flowing back to them.
Coming back in.
Thanks to their assets.
That's right. That's the power of assets.
It makes you want to grab a pen and paper and start mapping out your own
Absolutely.
flow,
That's a great exercise for anybody to do, to kind of visualize where their money is going.
Yeah. Okay, so this leads to another really interesting
Yeah.
and kind of controversial point, I feel like.
Yeah.
That Rich Dad he sees a house as a liability, not an asset.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
If it doesn't generate income.
Unless it's putting money in your pocket.
Yeah. And this challenges.
Really challenges that traditional view.
Yeah.
Right? That a house is always a good investment.
Yeah. It forces us to think differently
Yeah.
about how we spend our money and what we consider an asset.
And what we're actually putting our money into.
Yeah, like maybe that fancy new car isn't really an asset if it's draining your bank account every month.
That's costing you money.
Rich Dad wants us to be mindful of where our money's going
Absolutely.
and make sure it's working for us, not the other way around.
Be in control of your finances.
And he actually uses a really powerful story about Mrs. Martin's convenience store to kind of illustrate this.
Oh, yeah. That's a great story.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Where Kiyosaki and his friend Mike end up working for Mrs. Martin
Yeah.
for a measly 10 cents an hour.
Yeah.
Seemed like a cruel lesson at first.
Yeah, it did.
But Rich Dad had a bigger plan, right?
Definitely. He wanted them to experience that frustration
Yeah.
of the rat race firsthand.
Feeling that kind of stuckness and
Yeah.
just really understanding what it's like to be trading your time for money.
Yeah, it was like a master class in financial education disguised as a
Absolutely.
tough job.
Yeah.
And instead of complaining about the low wages, he actually encourages them to find creative ways to make money
Yeah.
outside of a traditional job, even as kids.
Even as kids.
Yeah, remember that story about the counterfeit toothpaste tubes?
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
I mean,
Again, kind of controversial.
controversial,
Sure.
but
But he was really illustrating
yeah,
that entrepreneurial mindset.
right.
Like thinking outside the box, being proactive.
It wasn't about condoning any kind of illegal activity.
Yeah.
It was about,
Wastefulness.
yeah,
Yeah.
like he was challenging them to shift their focus from working for money
Hmm.
to making money work for them.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful,
Huge distinction.
yeah.
And it requires a mindset shift, which is something Rich Dad
Yeah.
really emphasizes.
Constantly throughout the book. He believes that most people are stuck in a cycle of fear and scarcity.
Yeah.
When it comes to money, they fear taking risks,
Losing what they have.
losing what they have. They fear, yeah.
Fear of the unknown.
And they end up trapped in that rat race, working for someone else's dreams instead of their own.
Exactly. Playing it safe.
Yeah, and he challenges us to confront those fears
For sure.
and our own limiting beliefs about money.
Absolutely.
And he has this one line,
Oh, yeah. What is it?
"You're only poor if you give up."
That's a good one.
It's a pretty bold statement,
It is
but it's also incredibly
empowering.
empowering. It's
Yeah.
about taking ownership of our financial future
Yeah.
and believing in our ability to create wealth.
And that's where the concept of building that asset column comes in,
Yeah.
right? Rich Dad says, if you want to be rich, simply spend your life buying assets.
Okay.
If you want to be poor or middle class, spend your life buying liabilities.
Ooh.
So he's really advocating for this long-term strategy of acquiring assets that generate income and help us achieve that financial freedom.
Okay, so he lists things like businesses that don't require your constant attention,
Right.
stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and even intellectual property.
Yeah, anything that puts money in your pocket
Okay.
consistently.
And he really emphasizes that building that asset column takes time and effort.
It's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah.
It's a long-term investment in your financial well-being.
This isn't about winning the lottery.
No, not at all.
Okay.
This is about building something sustainable.
So it's not just about earning more money. It's about making sure that money is working for us.
Yes.
Even when we're not actively working.
Even while you sleep.
Having those multiple streams of income
Exactly.
flowing in. And this is where I feel like Rich Dad's emphasis on financial education really comes into play.
Totally. He believed that most schools just fail to teach us
Right.
the essential skills we need
Like the essential life skills
Yeah.
to be financially
to achieve financial success.
successful. Yeah. And I mean, it's true. A lot of traditional education focuses on preparing us for jobs, not necessarily for
Or
financial.
financial independence.
Yeah. And it's like we're given a toolbox with only a hammer
Yeah.
when we need a whole set of tools to build that solid financial foundation.
Yeah. And he highlights 4 key areas of financial intelligence: accounting,
Okay.
investing, understanding markets, and the law.
So it's not just about knowing what to buy. It's about understanding how money works,
Yeah.
how to spot opportunities, how to manage risk, how to make those informed financial decisions.
Yeah, it's about learning the language of money.
Okay.
So you can fluently navigate
I like that.
the world of finance.
Okay.
Be able to read those financial statements,
Yeah.
analyze those investment opportunities,
Yeah.
make smart decisions that align with your goals.
So it's not just about working hard and saving money. It's about working smart.
Yeah.
And making your money work harder for you.
And taking control of your financial destiny.
Yeah. So he also has this thought-provoking take on taxes.
Ooh, yeah.
He argues that the rich aren't taxed as heavily
Right.
as the middle class because they understand how to use the system
They know how to play the game.
to their advantage.
Yeah.
Remember his analogy using the story of Robin Hood?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
He was highlighting how the whole tax the rich sentiment often misses the mark.
Right.
And he actually uses the history of taxes to show how those with financial intelligence
Yeah.
can leverage legal strategies
Mhm.
to minimize their tax burden,
Right.
while the average person often ends up paying a disproportionate amount.
Yeah, because they don't understand the rules.
Yeah, he's not advocating for tax evasion
Yeah.
or anything illegal.
Not at all.
He's pointing out that understanding tax laws and using them strategically
Yeah.
is a crucial aspect of building wealth.
Being smart about it.
Yeah, so it's about being informed and proactive, not about trying to cheat the system. And corporations play a big role in this.
Yes.
He emphasizes that corporations,
Yeah.
although not physical entities, offer legal tax advantages
Yes.
that can be used to build wealth.
It's about using the system to your advantage.
And this is where I feel like things start to get a little
Complicated.
complicated for
Yeah.
someone who might be new to these concepts.
Yeah, it can be a lot to digest.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he encourages us to constantly be learning
Yeah.
and expanding our financial intelligence.
He doesn't expect us to become experts overnight,
Yeah.
but he does challenge us to be curious
Yeah.
and seek out knowledge
Yeah.
that can empower us financially.
Okay, so it's a journey, not a destination.
It is a journey.
We don't need to have all the answers right away,
Right.
but we need to be willing to learn and grow.
You have that growth mindset.
Yeah. And that leads perfectly into another important concept from the book,
What's that?
overcoming fear and laziness
Oh, yeah.
when it comes to money.
Those are big ones.
He believes that those are two of the biggest obstacles
Absolutely.
to financial success.
Yeah, fear can really hold us back.
And he doesn't just offer like vague advice
Right.
about facing your fear.
No, he gives you real strategies.
He uses stories,
Yeah.
analogies to illustrate his points.
Like that Texan battle cry.
Yeah,
Remember the Alamo?
that's a good one.
It shows how successful people
Right.
embrace failure and use it as fuel.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we often learn more from our failures
Oh, for sure.
than our successes.
Absolutely.
Like, it's about having the courage to try to take risks, to view setbacks as stepping stones.
You got it.
He's saying that the path to financial freedom is
Yeah.
paved with challenges.
It's not always going to be easy.
But we shouldn't let those challenges paralyze us.
That's right.
We need to develop that resilient mindset
Yeah.
and view failures as learning opportunities.
Opportunities for growth.
He also talks about overcoming laziness,
Yeah.
which isn't always about physical effort. It's about taking control of our finances and being proactive.
Yeah. Taking action.
Remember his advice about paying yourself first?
Oh, yeah. Pay yourself first.
Even if it's a small amount.
Yeah. Even if it's just a few dollars.
It's about creating that habit
That's the key.
of prioritizing your financial
Your financial well-being.
well-being, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like planting those seeds for your...
For your future financial garden.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
By consistently paying ourselves first,
Yeah.
we're essentially telling ourselves that our financial future is important
Mm-hmm.
and we're willing to invest in it,
You're worth it.
even if it's just a little bit at a time.
Absolutely.
And this leads to one of the most powerful tools in the book,
Okay, what's that?
the cash flow quadrant.
Ah, yes, the E, S, B, and I quadrants.
Yeah, and it's such a simple but brilliant framework
Yeah.
that categorizes people based on how they earn income.
So we've got the E for employees.
Yep.
S for self-employed or small business owners.
Mm-hmm.
B for business owners.
Right.
And I for investors.
And Rich Dad encourages readers to strive towards the B&I quadrants
Yes.
for greater financial freedom.
And control over your life.
Yeah, and he uses a really great story about the two water contractors,
Oh, yeah, Ed and Bill.
Ed and Bill.
Ed's working hard in that E quadrant.
Yeah.
Hauling buckets of water, really putting in the effort.
He's the hard worker.
But Bill, he's got that entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
He builds a pipeline
Yeah.
and creates a system
Yeah.
that generates passive income.
It's a powerful visual
It really is.
representation of how leveraging systems and assets
Yeah.
can lead to greater freedom.
Yeah, you can work smarter, not harder.
Okay, so it really makes you think about your own position in the cash flow quadrant
Yeah.
and where you ultimately want to be.
Where do you want to go?
This has been such an insightful deep dive already.
We're just getting started.
I know, I'm starting to see things in a whole new light.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Challenging those assumptions.
Yeah, and we've laid a solid foundation, explored Rich Dad's core principles.
We've got a lot more to cover.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I think it's important to take a moment to just kind of let everything sink in.
Yeah.
We've talked about the importance of understanding assets and liabilities.
Yeah.
We've talked about overcoming fear, building financial intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and we've just scratched the surface of the cash flow quadrant.
So much more to unpack.
With you.
In part 2, we're going to delve into each quadrant of the cash flow quadrant
We'll get into the nitty-gritty.
in more detail and uncover actionable strategies for achieving
Yes, practical steps.
financial freedom.
You don't want to miss it.
And stay tuned.
All right.
We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Last time, we really started to unpack some of those thought-provoking ideas from the book, like
Yeah.
redefining what we consider assets and liabilities.
Totally.
And we left off talking about the cash F flow quadrant. This idea that there are different ways to earn income.
Yeah. And Rich Dad really wants us to think beyond just working for a paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, the 4 quadrants represent employees, self-employed or small business owners, and investors.
Right.
And he really suggests that moving towards the B and I quadrants
Yeah.
can lead to greater financial freedom
And control over your time.
and control over your time. Exactly.
Exactly. So it's not that being an employee is bad,
Right.
but if that's your only source of income,
Yeah.
you're kind of at the mercy of someone else's decisions. Right?
That's the risk. Yeah.
Like a company could downsize.
Mhm.
You could end up with a terrible boss.
Right.
And suddenly
Your income stream dries up.
your income stream dries up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why Rich Dad stresses the importance of building that asset column
Yes.
early on. Even if you have a job you love,
Yeah.
he wants you to have that financial cushion.
That safety net.
Yeah, that income flown in.
Yeah.
Even while you sleep.
Even while you sleep, that's the dream.
Yeah, imagine the peace of mind. That comes with knowing your income isn't solely tied to
Right.
trading your time for money.
That's the goal.
Okay, so let's break down each quadrant
Okay.
a little further.
Sounds good.
What are some of the key characteristics of someone in the E quadrant?
Right.
The employee.
So, you know, Rich Dad acknowledges that having a job can be a great starting point,
Okay.
especially for gaining valuable skills and experience.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people thrive in the E quadrant.
Yeah.
You know, they value security, stability,
Yeah.
the structure that comes with a traditional job.
But the key is to not get complacent, right?
That's right.
Like, use that job as a stepping stone
Yeah.
to build something more.
Absolutely. Even if you're happy in the E quadrant,
Mm-hmm.
it's wise to start building that asset column as soon as possible.
Okay, so it's not about demonizing the E quadrant.
No, not at all.
It's about being strategic
Right.
and thinking long-term
Have a plan.
about your financial goals.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what about the S quadrant?
It's a self-employed
The self-employed or small business owner?
small business owner. Yeah. This is where a lot of people who crave more autonomy end up.
Yeah, they want to be their own boss.
They want to be their own boss.
Yep.
They're highly skilled and driven individuals.
Yeah.
Often.
So like the entrepreneurs, the freelancers.
The freelancers, consultants.
Yeah, consultants.
Yeah, people who are building a business around their own talents.
So they have more control.
Yeah.
They have more flexibility.
More flexibility.
But they're still trading their time for money.
To a large extent. Yeah.
To a large extent, like a doctor who runs their own practice or a freelance writer,
Yeah.
their income is still directly tied to how much they can personally produce.
Yeah, that's the trade-off, right?
Yeah.
They have more freedom than maybe someone in the E quadrant,
Yeah.
but they're still limited by the hours in a day.
And that's where the B quadrant comes in.
That's where the business owner really shines.
The business owner.
Yeah.
This is where Rich Dad seems to really advocate for people to aim for.
Yeah. He really pushes this idea of creating a business that doesn't require your direct involvement to operate.
Okay.
You're building systems, assembling teams, essentially creating a machine that generates income, even when you're not actively working in the business.
This is where the idea of passive income really comes into play.
That's the beauty of the B quadrant.
Like Bill and his water pipeline.
Exactly. He built a system that delivered value,
Right.
and the money flowed in, whether he was personally hauling buckets or not.
Okay, so like a successful restaurant owner,
Yeah.
they might not be the one cooking every meal
Right.
or
yeah,
waiting
right.
tables.
But they've built a system, a brand, a team
Yeah.
that generates income regardless of their direct involvement.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal
Yeah.
of the B quadrant.
It's about creating something that works for you
Right.
rather than you working for it all the time.
Okay, now what about the I quadrant?
The investor.
The investor, this feels like,
This is a whole different ballgame.
yeah, a whole different skill set.
Yeah. Investors make their money work for them.
Okay.
They use their capital to acquire assets that generate income, whether that's through real estate,
Yeah.
stocks, bonds, or other investments.
So they might not be running businesses themselves,
Right.
but they're using their financial intelligence
Yes.
to analyze opportunities and make their money grow.
Exactly. And Rich Dad really emphasizes that being a successful investor requires a different kind of knowledge and mindset
Okay.
than being a successful employee or business owner.
Yeah.
It's about understanding markets, managing risk,
Okay.
spotting those hidden gems that others might miss.
And that ties back to his whole point about financial education.
Totally.
Yeah.
He's not saying just blindly throw your money at random stocks.
Right.
It's about developing that knowledge and the skills
Yeah.
to make informed decisions.
Okay, so it's not just about working hard and saving money.
No.
It's about working smart and making your money work even harder for you.
Exactly. Working smarter, not harder.
So where do you even begin if you want to move quadrants
Right.
or start building that asset column?
That's a great question. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, where are the practical steps?
Right. So Rich Dad offers some really practical advice
Okay.
on how to get started.
Okay.
And first and foremost,
Yeah.
he stresses the importance of overcoming fear.
Okay.
He uses that Texan battle cry, remember the Alamo.
I love that story.
Yeah,
It's a reminder that we often learn more from our failures
absolutely.
than from our successes.
Yeah.
It's about having the courage to try, to take risks,
Yeah.
to view setbacks as stepping stones.
As opportunities for growth.
So it's not about being reckless,
Right.
but about having that growth mindset
Yeah.
and seeing challenges as opportunities to learn and improve.
That's the key.
What else does he suggest?
So he also talks about overcoming laziness,
Okay.
which, as we discussed earlier, is often more about taking control of your finances.
Yeah. And being proactive.
Remember his advice about paying yourself first,
Oh, yeah, pay yourself first.
even if it's just a small amount at first.
Yeah, even if it's just a few dollars.
It's about establishing that habit
That's it. That's the key.
of prioritizing your financial well-being.
Yes, exactly.
And he argues that this simple act can actually create positive pressure
Oh, interesting.
that motivates you to seek out other sources of income
Yeah.
and be more resourceful.
Like you're putting that pressure on yourself to
Yeah.
make it happen.
So by committing to paying ourselves first,
Yeah.
we're essentially forcing ourselves to get creative and find ways
To make it work.
to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a self-imposed challenge
Yeah.
that can spark innovation and resourcefulness.
Absolutely.
He also encourages us to develop our ability to spot opportunities
Oh, yeah.
that others might miss.
He says, train your mind to see with your mind what others miss with their eyes.
It's about being observant, asking questions.
Being open to possibilities that others might overlook.
Yeah, and part of that is seeking out knowledge and expanding your financial education.
Okay.
He advocates for attending seminars, reading books, learning from experts. It's about being a lifelong learner
Okay.
when it comes to money.
So it's not just about absorbing information.
Right.
It's about applying what you learn,
Taking action.
taking action, experimenting,
Yeah.
taking calculated risks, and constantly refining your approach.
Absolutely.
He even talks about the power of giving back
Oh, yeah.
and teaching others what you've learned.
That's a big one.
He believes that generosity attracts abundance.
Yeah.
And that sharing your knowledge and resources can
Yeah.
actually lead to greater prosperity.
It's like that saying, the more you give, the more you receive,
Yeah.
but applied to the realm of finance.
It's about creating that positive ripple effect
That's it.
that benefits not only yourself,
Yeah.
but also those around you.
Exactly.
You've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
I know. It's amazing how Rich Dad, Poor Dad just seamlessly weaves together
Yeah.
these practical strategies with mindset shifts and personal anecdotes.
Yeah.
It's a really engaging read.
But let's be honest, some of Kiyosaki's ideas can be pretty controversial.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like his view that a house isn't always an asset,
Right.
or his emphasis on using corporations for tax advantages. These are ideas that might make some people uncomfortable.
Yeah, he definitely challenges the status quo.
And it's important to remember that not everything in Rich Dad, Poor Dad
Right.
is universally applicable.
Yeah,
Every individual's financial situation and goals are unique.
absolutely.
So it's not about blindly following everything he says.
Right.
It's about using his ideas as a springboard
Yeah,
for exploring different paths to financial freedom.
exactly.
It's about taking what resonates with you, doing your own research,
Yes.
seeking professional advice
Absolutely.
needed.
Yeah, it's about being informed and making choices that are right for you.
Yeah. This has been an incredibly insightful exploration of Rich Dad, Poor Dad so far.
I'm just getting warmed up.
I'm feeling inspired and motivated to take action.
That's what we like to hear.
But I also recognize that this is a journey, not a sprint.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I encourage you to reflect on which quadrant
Yes.
of the cash flow quadrant
Yeah.
resonates most with you?
And why?
What steps can you take, even small ones, to start building your own path towards financial freedom?
That's a great question to ponder.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, from rethinking assets and liabilities to exploring the cash flow quadrant.
Mm-hmm.
But as with any book that challenges the norm,
Right.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad has sparked its share of debate and criticism.
It's definitely stirred up some controversy over the years.
Yeah, I mean, where do you think a lot of that pushback comes from?
Well, I think a lot of it stems from the fact that Kiyosaki directly challenges a lot of conventional financial wisdom.
Right.
He's asking us to question things we often take for granted, like automatically investing in a 401k or assuming a house is always a good investment.
Yeah, he's shaking things up, for sure.
He definitely is.
And I think some of his bolder statements, like claiming the rich don't work for money,
Yeah,
can sound pretty radical to someone who's been raised with a more traditional view of work and wealth.
it can be jarring to hear those ideas at first,
Yeah.
but it's important to remember that Kiyosaki is advocating for a specific kind of financial freedom,
Okay.
the kind that comes from building assets that generate passive income.
Right.
He's not saying everyone needs to become a real estate tycoon or a millionaire entrepreneur.
It's about tailoring those principles to your own goals and values.
Exactly.
You might find that a combination of different quadrants works best for you.
Absolutely.
Maybe you love your job in the E quadrant,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also building a side hustle in the S quadrant,
Right.
and investing in real estate for passive income in the I quadrant.
There you go. You've got a diversified approach.
Okay, so speaking of criticism,
Yeah.
some people have also questioned the accuracy of some of Kiyosaki's anecdotes.
Right. There have been some doubts raised about whether he's embellished certain details to make his points more impactful.
And that kind of reminds us that we should approach these personal anecdotes with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Always a good idea.
We're more interested in the core concepts and principles he's illustrating,
Right.
not necessarily every detail of his personal story.
Exactly. It's about the bigger picture.
So with all these different viewpoints
Yeah.
and potential controversies,
Yeah.
what's the key takeaway for someone who's just starting their financial journey?
That's a great question. And I think amidst all the debate,
Yeah.
the most valuable lesson that shines through is the importance of financial education.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki repeatedly emphasizes that it's not enough to simply work hard and save money. You need to understand how money works, how to build assets, and how to make informed investment decisions.
So financial literacy is a superpower.
It really is. It gives you the agency to control your destiny and build the life you want.
And the great thing is we have more resources than ever
Absolutely.
at our fingertips to learn about personal finance.
Books, podcasts, online courses, you name it.
So even if you don't agree with every single thing Kiyosaki says,
Right.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad serves as a powerful wake-up call.
It encourages us to take ownership of our financial futures and invest in our financial education.
It's a book that sparks a conversation,
It does.
challenges our assumptions,
Yeah.
and pushes us to think differently about money and success.
And that's what makes it such a valuable read.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Time flies when you're having fun with finances.
I know it's been an eye-opening journey for sure.
Absolutely.
Exploring everything from unconventional financial strategies to the debates surrounding Kiyosaki's ideas.
It's been a pleasure unpacking these concepts with you.
Likewise.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final question to ponder.
Okay.
Inspired by the cash flow quadrant, imagine you could choose to earn income from any of the 4 quadrants.
Okay.
Which would you choose and why?
That is a great question to reflect on.
It really gets to the heart of what we've been discussing.
Yeah.
Defining your own path to financial freedom and designing a life that aligns with your values and aspirations.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another insightful exploration
Until then,
of a topic that matters to you.
keep learning,
Until then, keep learning, keep growing.
keep growing, and keep building those asset columns.
See you next time.